in the end was the fact that Willian gave the ball stupidly away in the left-back position about 30 seconds before the Bellerin goal, and Conte will be absolutely crazy about that. You might not remember it, but he should have cleared these lines. He tried to play a clever little ball inside, and Chelsea, after that, never get outside the box. That sums up the two teams' basic defending for me.
That's why I want to talk about... There's so many different incidents, but let's just talk about the game overall. It was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
No, it was, and I thought Arsenal, for long periods, played really well. They're a bit of a shambles at the back, but then again, at times, Chelsea were not much better at the back. Lacazette had chances. I thought Ozil should have taken one on his own in the second half when he tried to lay in Alexis Sanchez. Courtois had to make saves. Then we get to Alvaro Morata. I thought it was an excellent game of football, but, I mean, in terms of why these teams are not sitting alongside Manchester City, it was evident.
Okay. Well, you could see that, but for me, and yes, for me, I thought Arsenal were the better of the two teams over the course of the 90 minutes. The bigger question, certainly from an Arsenal point of view, is why can't they replicate these types of performances week in, week out? I think if they do, there's no question. Arsenal show that they are good enough to finish in the top four. But they seem to save their best performances against top teams in the Premier League. And they've allowed their position to continue to slip by having these lacklustre, lethargic performances against everybody else.
Let's get to the biggest culprit in the game, Alvaro Morata. Let's just cut straight to him, right? Because clearly he's a talented player. Played at Juve, played at Real Madrid, big, strong boy, quick. But these are the games. This is why he was signed. You know, he replaced Diego Costa because Conte couldn't repair that relationship. Let me put this another way, Dan. Had Harry Kane or Sergio Aguero been playing for either of these sides tonight, they would have won the game.
Forget those two. What about Diego Costa? What if he was still at Chelsea?
He would have.
Yes.
I think he would have taken. Well, it's all hypothetical.
You brought it up.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, Costa would have taken a couple of chances, I think. But better than that, if Kane or Aguero, if they had a Kane or Aguero standard player in their team, Arsenal and Chelsea, both of them would have walking away with 3 points. Two top-quality strikers that can do it in the Premier League.
You're not even talking Kane and Aguero here with these Morata chances. These are basic chances in the Premier League. The opening chance and the closing for Alvaro Morata are simple. You don't need to play for Real Madrid or Juventus to be able to tuck those away. I expect anybody in the Premier League to make a better effort at those. The first was 10 yards wide. The second, a bouncing ball, an advancing goalkeeper. You're 6 yards away from the keeper. He's 8 yards off his line. I don't know where to start in describing that.
Is this a player short of confidence or short of quality?
I think there is quality there. I think there's a shortage of confidence. And listen, it's big boys' time for him. We talked about that at the beginning of the season. He's not the Morata that might come off the bench or play 20 games a season now when fit. He's the guy that has to lead the line, right, in the Premier League. Whether you think the Premier League's the best league or the most pressured league or whatever, he is paid to lead the line in this league that is worth billions of dollars to these teams, and he'll need to lead the line against Barcelona. Nobody can find the confidence apart from Alvaro Morata. He has got the quality, but unless he does it in England and in Europe for Chelsea, they'll have to get him out.
Meanwhile, of course, after the game, Arsene Wenger will grab all the headlines for what he had to say about the penalty decision awarded against Bellerin. He said it was farcical. He said if the referee gave a penalty for every one of those decisions, there'd be 10 pens a game.
Oh, they would.
Well, let me put it another way. If that was Azpilicueta on Alexis Sanchez, he'd have been crying for a penalty all day long. It was a penalty kick. It was a
penalty. Yes.
It was a clear penalty kick from me. Whether it was Eden Hazard or somebody playing for Man United or somebody playing for Tottenham or Liverpool doesn't change the decision. Because it's Chelsea and, oh, you're an ex-Chelsea player and all that nonsense. It doesn't come into the equation. It's a clear penalty. He's kicked him, he's missed the ball, and he's kicked the player.
We've seen these kind of incidences happen time and time again in the league. So far this season, and we see them again. Defender doesn't quite see the attacker coming. He goes to clear. the attacker Nixon ahead of him and is caught. That's a penalty. It can't be described
So
as
those who are not
else.
happy with it saying that Hazard has gone down very easily, that the contact that there isn't enough to warrant the way in which he went down, and in fact he's holding his shin when there's no contact with his shin.
There is contact. There is meaningful contact in the box.
Enough for him to go down like that?
Enough for him to go down. Enough for him to at least put him off his stride. And that's all that matters to me here, that he is caught illegally by Hector Bellerin, in my opinion. Now, what he does, whether he holds his head, his shin, or the sole of his boot, is irrelevant at that point.
I mean, I really think there's a lot more dubious decisions have gone around this season. I really do.
There's more dubious decisions in this game.
I mean, I think the penalty against Arsenal at the weekend was ridiculous.
Yes,
yeah, that was ridiculous.
I don't think it was a penalty at all. That doesn't mean this one was in the similar bracket. It wasn't. Before we get to the Jack Wilshere and all that, let me just touch on the problem for these two teams. Chelsea couldn't see a game out, right? They could not see a game out when clearly they should be good enough to do it. And secondly, from the kickoff, from the Bellerin goal, you saw the clip where Alvaro Morata's gone through and goal. Yeah. From the kickoff. That sums up these two teams this season, particularly Arsenal, who are sitting in sixth, as you mentioned. They've been too disjointed at the back.
I just want to take it back to those comments because they're so strong.
Yeah. Well, he's already in trouble.
Like, farcical is a...
Well, he's in double trouble now.
I don't think it's a big adjective to wear.
I don't think he's bothered.
But we talk about decisions, and it isn't farcical, though, is it? So what does it tell us about Wenger and where he's at? Because he's been in this business long enough to know that us, the media, are going to jump on this, and it seems a bit out of sorts, really.
I'll give Arsene Wenger the benefit of the doubt here and assume that he hasn't seen the replay.
Oh, Shaq, he must have seen it.
I'm just giving it benefit.
You can't come out and say it's farcical.
I'm giving it benefit of the doubt here, and judging by his rhetoric all season long, judging by what happened just a few days ago, you understand that maybe he feels, and he continues to paint that picture and sing that song, that referees and the decisions have been against Arsenal. And I sympathise with him because he's seeing things very one-directionally here. But it's not the case. Now, for him to come out and say it's farcical, I don't think that should get him in any further hot water with the FA.
Well, I think it will. Bear in mind, he went into the referee's room after the game and gave both barrels to the referee at West Bromwich Albion. So that's what he's in trouble for. So this is going to go in the back of it. But let's be quite frank here. Wenger's clinging on to this Arsenal, success story that he's had up until a few years ago. He's clinging on to that. He was clinging on to it with signing his new contract last year. But this is nothing new for Arsene Wenger, Dan. Arsene Wenger's only seen what he's wanted to see for years now. For absolutely years he's come on after games. And he's not alone. He is not alone. Because the Premier League manager or the top elite level manager has got the biggest pair of blinkers in any sport. Honestly, and he's no different, but to start calling that farcical is indeed farcical.
You mentioned the Jack Wilshere incident. Let's take it back to that. I don't think any of us is debating the first yellow card. That was fine. Yeah. The challenge on Cesc Fabregas. The question, I suppose, is did Jack Wilshere dive in the second half enough to warrant a yellow card?
Yes. There was a challenge went in, and then the player pulled out, and Wilshere threw the left leg out and was already on his way down. Now, years ago, shows like this used to sit here when watching the Premier League and talk about these damn foreigners coming over here and diving and ruining our game. And it has completely spread to everybody now, including the British players. We saw it with Zaha again at the weekend and several other players. And Wilshere is just another one you can throw in there as a player who's tried to con the ref and did con the referee, but shouldn't have conned him. It should have been a second yellow. Anthony Taylor should have seen it, and Jack Wilshere should have been sent off.
Without question for me. And again, Arsene Wenger's seen things all his own way, understandably. But trying to paint this picture of Arsenal being hard done by. And we sit here and we always say that these bad decisions, as bad as the Callum Chambers one was against West Brom, they come out in the wash eventually. Sometimes bad decisions come out in the wash in the very same game. No question Wilshere should have been sent off. Ask Arsene Wenger if, all things being equal, if after 55 minutes and them down to 10 men, he would have taken that and leave the complaining about the penalty decision alone.
Just a reminder, Arsenal and Chelsea meet each other 2 more times this month. The first leg of that semi-final of the Carabao Cup will be live on ESPN2. Coverage starting next Wednesday at 2:55 Eastern.